All right. Welcome to this special edition of Events.com's Ask an Event Pro, brought to you by RunningUSA. My name is Bob Babbitt. My guest from Spectrum Sports, Mr. Mike Moen. Mike, how the heck are you?
Good, Bob. How you doing? Good to see you down here at the conference.
Wonderful. So you have this really cool mix of events because you've got your traditional Catalina Marathon, Catalina Eco Marathon, on the most beautiful island in the world.
Right,
Plus,
yeah.
you're involved with the 50-miler too. And then you're involved with Disney, which is sort of the ultimate Goliath marathons and events.
It's interesting because there are some events where we're about 3 weeks apart.
Yes.
Where you're on Catalina scrambling for cars and getting supplies around, and you couldn't get more essence, the essence of running.
Right.
And then you just jump over to Disney where we might have 18,000 participants, and of those maybe 4,000 runners and athletes.
A little different issue. In one issue, you've got, hey, there's some buffalo on the course. And another one, you've got this guy's dressed up as Darth Vader, and we've got to have him take his costume off because we don't know what's underneath that.
That's right. But you know what's fun is there's literally nothing else in the world of running like a Disney event.
Yes.
I mean, from the start to the course to the entertainment, the experience. It's really, I mean, heck, we had Nick Arciniaga, who's going to be competing on Saturday for an Olympic trial spot.
Yes.
It's our two-time defending champion at Star Wars Half Marathon. He comes out as training and just to have fun.
I love that.
So you get everything in between, and there's just nothing like it.
And the other aspect of your business is you've got a July 4th race in Huntington Beach, right?
Right.
And you also have a Super Bowl Sunday run in Redondo Beach. So you're on some of the bigger days where people like to come out and dress up and have fun.
Yes. Yeah.
So what have you learned from the Disney experience, from being immersed in that community?
You know, probably what we've learned the most and the biggest takeaway is the guest experience, the customer experience. And
yes.
I think that's something as an industry we can do better, top to bottom, whether in any endurance sport, whether it's running, triathlon, whatever it happens to be. Disney takes care of their guests like no other. And every consideration we have, from where we place the water stations to the sag points to the mile markers, it's all about a great guest experience. And we've taken that, we've rolled that into some of these other events. Redondo Beach has a long-standing costume contest on Super Bowl Sunday, so we've enhanced that. There's a beer garden part of it. It's all about the experience.
Because at the end of the day, you're in the entertainment business, right? You're competing with someone going to a movie, taking the family out to dinner. Are we going to go out there as a family and dress up and go do this event? And why? What is the draw for us to do that?
Yeah, why roll out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning to get down there and get some parking to go out there and sweat for an hour? What is that going to be? And you know, when you look at Huntington Beach, here's the largest 4th of July parade west of the Mississippi. We'll get 4,000 people out there, and I love the guy that shows up every year with his American flag shorts on, no T-shirt, and pushing a baby stroller.
From 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember one of my first times at Huntington Beach, the guy pushing a baby stroller, and there was a pony keg in there and no baby. But it's fun. That's what they're out there to do. And you know what? That might be the other thing I think that we've learned to appreciate from Disney. This might be the 1 time a year, 2 times a year that a lot of our guests get off the couch and go out and do something like this that is truly life-changing. And that's a cliche that we overuse in this industry, but when you see that happen to people, it's quite rewarding.
So when you're out there on Catalina, and this is an event that started, 35 years ago, whatever it happens to be, there's something very special and unique about being able to run on a trail where there are buffalo and boar, and you've got ocean on all 4 sides, and you're really, I always tell people that you either finish or become a resident.
Right.
It's like there's a bit of pressure to get to the finish line at some point. What is it about Catalina that's endured, that stood the test of time?
I think just that that it's so unique. At our Eco Marathon, as you and some of your running friends know, there's parts where you're running along the crest of the island and look over your shoulder and there's Long Beach, and look ahead and there's San Clemente Island.
Yes.
So it's very unique in that regard. The isolation is, I think, also part of it. The number of people I talk to that meet up with some stranger who was a stranger at mile 4 as you're climbing out of Two Harbors,
right,
is your best friend at mile 21 coming back into town.
Yeah, people have created long-term relationships.
Yeah.
On that island.
And at the same time next year, I'll see you again next year at the race.
Actually, the Filippos actually got married, right?
Yeah, that's right.
They met on the boat.
Yeah. And where else do you have a guy with the nickname Buffalo Bill McDermott, who's won the event 13 times in a row? I mean, that's just silly. Nobody wins something like that 13 times in a row.
Well, especially you talk about 4,000 feet of climbing in one race, 6,000 feet of climbing in the other race, and you talk about you're doing a road race marathon. If there's 3 climbs in it, you're upset.
Yeah, right, exactly. If you go over a freeway overpass, people get upset.
I remember being at mile 21 or 22 at the first year I did the race, and I looked over at this guy who had the number that showed that he'd done it every year.
Yeah.
I said, how many more climbs? And he said 7, and I was excited that there were only 7 more. And there's only 4 more miles left in the race. I'm like, oh, only 7?
Yeah, I could do that.
If you told me 7 at mile 5 of a regular marathon, I'd go out of my mind.
Yeah, it is unique about that, but it's the camaraderie over there too, and it's the island is beautiful, as you know, but it's the camaraderie, it's hitting that finish line and don't stop and go right into the ocean to cool your legs down. And you know, this year we're going to have a beer garden out there and a band playing, so just keep people around, and it's a truly unique experience.
So you were in this putting on triathlons, representing athletes way back in the dark ages. How has this industry changed from your perspective?
Well, I think it's arguably gotten much more professional.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about the athletes. First athlete I represented was Dave Johnson in the famous Dan and Dave Reebok campaign.
Yeah.
And that was just written up in the Sports Illustrated last week about famous Super Bowl campaign. So that was a little walk down nostalgia lane there. But you know, I think in the meantime, it's just gotten more professional. I mean, everything, and competitive, which I think has raised everybody's professionalism.
Yes.
I think, unfortunately, you know, it's also led to a certain amount of oversaturation that we're starting to see filter out a little bit.
Sure.
But, you know, through the online companies and the timing companies and just the various professionalisms and different aspects that you have to pull from for your event. And it's also forced the race directors like our company, I think, to step their game up a bit. Yeah.
Is that the biggest challenge, you think, in moving forward? Is just new technology, obviously, new ways to reach people. The days of just going, okay, I took out an ad in the magazine, I'm good. That's all changed. I think
so. And I think what you and I are both seeing a little bit with the what next syndrome. You know, that's again, arguably where triathlon came from. What next?
Exactly.
I've run and I've rode my bike. Now what? Oh, triathlon. And we're seeing that with the obstacle course races and. You know, there is the fun events, the non-timed events, the color runs and all that, and you know, they have a place in the market. But I think from a meat and potatoes perspective, we're seeing, okay, what can I, leading to a Catalina. You know, one of the fastest growing segments in the running industry is trail running.
Exactly.
Well, people have been pounding the streets and for how long, and they're saying, well, what else can we do? Why not run up with the trees, run out by the ocean, run out where I could see a buffalo?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a challenge.
One of the things that I don't think enough people know about is if people have not been on Catalina Island, they don't realize that the majority of it's a conservancy, that the idea is to protect the wildlife that is there, and that the events are there to raise money to make that happen. Talk a little bit about the conservancy and how they benefit from people running on the island.
Yeah, the Conservancy are great partners because they're stewards of the land. 86% of the island is set up in a conservancy.
Yeah.
And the people that come over, it really benefits the Conservancy in two primary fashions. One is that they do make money from the races, which is great because it goes back to helping the bison and the native plants. It was only a handful of years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, that the Catalina Island fox was almost wiped out. And they've been very aggressive with bringing it back, very healthy population now. The other function that it does help the Conservancy are those people that come back to buy a bike permit and a camping permit. There's the Trans-Catalina Trail that was created in large part as a result of the popularity of the marathons.
Yeah.
So now there's a 30-mile trail that goes from one end to the next that has 2 campsites that you could camp at and do a multi-day hike. So it really brings people back, and it shows all of our enthusiasts, all the people that we at this conference and we as race directors market to, hey, come on over here and you don't have to do the run. Why don't you start with a hike or a mountain bike ride? And oh, by the way, now you can come back and do the marathon.
Love that.
Yeah, so it's a nice tie-in.
In terms of reaching those trail runners, is that hard to find those guys? Because it's the Catalina Marathon. You think about ultra guys running Western States, or they're running Leadville, or they're doing 100 milers or 50 milers. Sometimes they go, oh, it's a marathon. That's short, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
it's sort of like, for a lot of people who are road people, go, God, it's 4,000 feet of climbing, and it's off-road. And then your off-road guys are going, that's a little short for me.
Yes. Well, I've been, there's a trail running conference we've been at a couple years, and I've heard that argument. It's
not
trail runners. It's not pure. We need single track. We need routes. We need water to jump over. What are you talking about? But a big trail run event in a lot of the markets, not all of them, is 100 people.
Right.
Once I explained to them what Catalina, yes, we're on fire roads most of the time, but you come over and start at sea level, climb a net elevation gain of almost 5,000 feet and end up back at sea level, and then convince your partner that ran with you that they didn't do a trail run.
I love that. Cool. And RunCatalina.com for all the information.
RunCatalina.com, it gives you all the information you need, and it's a great experience, and I think the people that come out really have a good time, and it's always surprising each year how many first-time marathoners. Heck, there's a race here in 2 days that's pretty much downhill at LA from the stadium to the sea.
Right.
For your first-time marathon, I would pick that over Catalina.
I love that, because you figure, hey, any marathon I do after this is going to be cake.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Mike Bone has been our guest from Spectrum Sports. Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you, Bob.
Hold on, everyone. We will be right back.
Hi, it's Andrea, ping pong champion from Events.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more tips.